anyway, I wanted to, it brings tears to my eyes when I'm not crying right now, but I mean, I have watched it and it's so moving. And I really love the part where he says the chosen who can choose not to fight, or, have chosen not to fight, who don't have to fight, the chosen who do not have to fight. That line is just so moving. And I didn't know that that's what it was saying, that it was saying that no more war, in a way. I mean, I think that's the meaning of that's a big line of a song. Like, let us be free in what we are going through right now. And I don't. It's kind of apropos for tonight, because if you think about what is a soldier really, or what determines what kind of war are we in? Like, is it just physical, or is it spiritual, or is it media, or is it words, or people, or speaking? The battle of even thought or consciousness, or I don't know if maybe I think too much, but I just found that song to be so moving. Hi, Vanessa Bates. Great to see. I'm glad you made it here tonight. I just played Bono and Pavarotti singing Ave Maria together. I just thought that was so. I wanted to share it because I found it's kind of like a little gem that's stuck up, somewhere here on the internet. Somebody's uploaded something. Space Channel 9 says Bono is John Lennon conspiracy. He does look like John Lennon in that video. And don't you think a lot of entertainers kind of rehash each other's looks? Like if they're, people will go, well, we want a John Lennon type. It's almost like if you mirror something that was a little bit in the past, people sort of go, oh, it's retro, and they accept it. So we kind of, I think culturally, if you were to study the decades of fashion, even, it all kind of, it keeps going through a cycle. It just kind of, except now, fashion has been very weird looking on the catwalk. Holly's shared a few things on Facebook of just bizarre stuff that people are like, I go, where are you going to go in that is my question. Like, where are you going to go? Starbucks, anyway, anything goes now, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on the video here, because I don't want to. I know this is the reason why you guys are here. Before I do start though, I'm gonna give you a little advertisement. I got to remember to do these things. Brand. All right, let me. I have it in a video clip here. I'm doing a little promo. Oh no, wait, I didn't upload it. Oh, how silly of me. Wait, let me see. Oh, I guess I didn't do it. Okay, so I'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Doesn't matter. I've got this. This is kind of cute. Let me show you this.
Is that good? Yeah? Is that good? Yeah?
All these little things you do to me.
So that's my kitty cat. What happened to everybody? Okay. Yeah, and he's becoming quite popular right now. That's Orlando. I've always liked that name because of the Virginia Woolf book. But some people go, oh, that's because Max and Orlando Bloom. I'm like, no, I like that name, so I named him Orlando. He's quite popular, and it's an ad. I put a little ad at the end because Not My Rabbit Hole. I have a store basically, and I sell pet CBD products, and they're really great. And then I also just uploaded another essay. It's called Cannabis Literacy on the Not My Rabbit Hole blog. And if you click onto that, there's an area with CBD biocare products where you can click on, and you can get a free sample of the products. And then, so to try them out, all you have to do is pay for shipping and handling. So that's also in my essay. And I'll show you the essay later on tonight. I won't do that right now because I know that you guys are all here and we want to get to the root of this. Like I said before, I've watched this a few times. I watched it again recently. This was one of the reasons why I wanted to interview Max about the entertainment industry, because he seems so knowledgeable. And again, I think you're going to find it interesting to and also, you know what, I did forget to put that one video link in the chat, but I'll make sure that after I do this live stream that I source my material here. This is Tinfoil Man. I have shown some of his videos before with James Casbolt. The guy hasn't uploaded in like 6 or 8 years, but he's got some really great preserved videos on Max.
Okay, Max, we're talking about the pop music industry. Talking about the programming of the music.
Yes.
And one of the things which was mentioned by James Casbolt was a list.
Okay.
On that list was a young lady who was found dead very recently.
Right.
Now, this is very controversial, but you've mentioned that the very fact we're even talking about it, they'll know anyway.
I think that when you start talking, when you
we're
start
talking dangerous waters here.
When you start touching on the OTO stuff, you're sending out a frequency, and they're aware
and
of it.
This is basically Aleister Crowley and the open gate, the gate that he created at Loch Ness.
Okay,
yes,
it's
still open.
It's still open. Yeah, it didn't finish.
Does
the
this
ritual.
Does this actually connect with the Loch Ness monster itself?
Absolutely,
so
I think so, because when he opened it and did that ritual at Boleskine house, and then but what actually he never finished the ritual, so he never finished it. It opened a huge gate that's there, and it was something to do with Baal or Belial.
Well, that's the god Bel, which is the name for the ford. Belfast is the ford at Bel.
Okay.
And Belfast is meant to refer to that god.
Yeah. Now he's one of the 72 Goetia. He's like one of the king's 72 Goetia demons. And
what are they? What's that?
Okay, so you have King Solomon had a ring where he had power over. They're the lower astral level. Some are reptilian, some are just disincarnate shadow beings, some are fallen, any of the lowest fallen beings, and you could that's where hell comes from. Like the concept of hell comes from. It's the lower fourth dimensional frequency. Now we have,
and I want to pause this for a moment and remind me. I want to make sure that I also source this in my video, and I'll give you in the chat. There's a guy named Mr. Mythos, and it's something called like the completely obsessive. Let me see if I can pull that up here. No, I can't. The completely obsessive. Look into demonology. Mr. Mythos on YouTube, and he really goes into. It's really great because he breaks it down how King Solomon. Basically, according to the Bible, God said, here's you were able to control, or you can use these demons to build, like I say, build the temple or something like that. I mean, I know I'm going to sound like, okay, you sound like you really know about this, but there's something about where he delved into the demons as slaves. And but the problem is that the demons took him over, and the demons were his downfall. and that's the problem. I think that's basically the lesson to this, is that certain demons have certain sigils, and then, and Max is gonna explain it here in a moment how it works, and how when you do this, because it's been done so many times before, every time you do it, it gets stronger, and he's gonna explain that.
Our DNA, the ability to conjure and call upon them if a ritual is done in the right way. So you can, why ritual is so important to them is because whenever you do a ritual, you're then reactivating the morphogenetic field of anybody else who's ever done that ritual before. So if you do a ritual, you're reenacting everybody else who's done it before, and that you can, if you know what you're doing, you bring them into being. And each one of the 72 is defined as being used for a different thing, some for money, some for fame, etc. So I don't know the exact details of each one, but I know that they're dukes, princes, kings of quote unquote hell, and then you bring them up, and then they can help you out for certain things. They can grant you certain things. I think it's where the genie and the lamp comes from, the concept. The jinn is still connected with that concept, but so Belial or Belial is the one that he was connecting with. Also, there's just trying to think of the castle in Scotland, which was the Queen Mother's residence. It was also called
Holyrood.
No, not Holyrood.
No,
No,
I think a friend of mine went to that castle in way back in the 90s, which we talked off camera about, but don't want to mention the name.
That's in Scotland as well, and it's directly connected by tunnels to Boleskine. And Crowley was a royal anyway, really.
Yeah, but what do you mean directly connected by tunnels to?
Most of the certainly, I'm sure this goes for France.
And I think it's interesting that he's talking about tunnels, because they talk about tunnels in Hollywood too, like in the Laurel Canyon area. There's even the tunnels that they talk that are underneath Los Angeles. So even like, say, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, they have underground tunnels. There's Seattle Underground. Portland used to Shanghai people. So they would get people drunk and take them underneath the tunnels, and then they would hijack them like human trafficking out into the ocean. This is part of the history of it's not now. This is like way from before.
France and Germany and Switzerland and all of the.
Also, I want to make mention of back to the demons that he was talking about, the 72 demons, and then each demon has a sigil. For example, Led Zeppelin has there's like the curse of Led Zeppelin. Each person has their own sigil that they created. And, if you don't do these rituals correctly, then, a lot of times the curse goes against the person who made the curse. Some of them are that strong. And really, I think this is where you get, even in our literature, the Faustian deal. Like you made a deal with the devil, basically, and yet that the Faustian deal can happen from its particular demon.
External architecture of the castles and main Gothic
this is something you
cathedrals.
referred to it in Canterbury.
That's one of the main ones, because so many energy grid lines are crossing there. They're connected. If you go underneath them, there's either portals or there's a tunnel system or a magnetic rail system that connects them all up. A lot of
magnetic rail.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. 4,000 Mark IV speed magnetic rail system that goes under. But back to the thing, to the Crowley opening that door, he was trying to summon Belial in a 6-month ritual. 6 months it takes to do the ritual that he was doing, and he collapsed at the end. It was just a broken man at the end, and couldn't finish it. Left the house and went back to London and had a big fight with McGregor Mathers, who was the other member of the Golden Dawn. Sort of, they were the two kind of leaders of the Golden Dawn at the time. They had a massive feud. They fought for 2-3 years, and McGregor Mathers was left a broken man, just cracked and
So
destroyed.
both men were basically broken as a result of this.
Well, I think Crowley continued on. McGregor Mathers at the end of the war with Crowley. They disagreed
I'm
on
interested in this because one of the people I interviewed was a guy called Ron Adams, and
Yeah.
he lived in Crowley Cottage,
something.
and he was died
Guys,
soon after.
I'm gonna pause this for a
because-
second, and you know I was gonna do that, right? Because it's like I'm doing an analysis, but I guess like tonight, I almost feel like sharing something with you that there's a weird connection for me about McGregor Mathers, because Dave Mathers. I don't know if you guys know this. Like he's on Facebook. He peripherally is part of this group, although I don't think he's ever really done a show. His grandfather was, I think it's McGregor Mathers, was part of the OTO. And this is sort of a bizarre story, but Sean David Morton left me stranded in San Diego. And that was kind of the break of my friendship with, Sean David Morton. And he came and picked me up. And when he picked me up, there was, because I was communicating with Max. Max was still alive at this time. And Max had done like the second show on with the Polish interviewer, the one that I'm very suspicious of that last video that the Polish interviewer did with Max. I don't see how anybody could have listened to that and then not said, gee, maybe we should get him some medical attention, or even have put him on camera in that particular state. That's just me. But he had done like 2 of those shows. And one of the shows is he talked about the Mars jump room. Now I'm talking about things that a lot of people probably are going to go, oh, I don't believe any of that. And Max was, a complete phony fake. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. However, I just want to say that this one thing did happen. When Dave Mathers picked me up and we went to Solana Beach, he was wearing, okay, and I have to tell you something else. Oh yeah, this is it. He was wearing, okay, first of all, he had 2 t-shirts, and one of the t-shirts had the same color. It was tied and dyed, and they had the same colors as his t-shirt. He goes, go ahead and pick out which one you want to wear. And I picked out one that had no words on it. And then he picked a t-shirt that said 30 seconds to Mars on it. But it wasn't until later before I recognized it, right? And so Max was talking about being in the jump room, and then how after he, did the jump room to Mars, he kept seeing like the 30-second Mars video by Jared Leto. And then like after I watched, almost like directly after I watched him say this on a video, I was on the beach with McGregor Mathers, I guess nephew or, grandfather, right? Or somehow bloodline. And then he's wearing the 30 Seconds to Mars t-shirt. And it was that day that he told me that his grandfather was part of the OTO and Aleister Crowley, and there was a break or whatever. That day he told me that. And he had this t-shirt on, and it was 30 Seconds to Mars. And I go, oh my God. I go, you're wearing a 30 Seconds to Mars t-shirt. And I go, Max Spiers was just talking about that, about Jared Leto and everything. And this is one of the last, I think this is actually the last conversation that I had with Max via Facebook in the chat. And he said, oh, I'm going to do a 3rd show with the Polish guy because I've been watching the first 2. And I said, oh, that's great. And then I said, and I told him about the t-shirt and the 30 Seconds to Mars thing. And he sent me a comment back, and he said, that's not a coincidence. Terry, he wrote my name. That's not a coincidence. And he said something like, Jared Leto isn't even human. Okay. And that really tripped me out for a while. Like I was kind of like, what do you mean he's not human? I might just even stop for a second. I was like, what do you mean he's not human? What do you mean Jared Leto's not human? You know? And I got really interested in studying Jared Leto, like him as an actor. I mean, I always knew of him. I always liked his work. I was kind of followed him, like, whoa, what's up with Jared Leto? Well, later on, I find out years later that Jared Leto is living in the Air Force Base that's on top of Laurel Canyon. He actually ended up buying that space, and that Air Force Base has been, it's even like, if you can even look up articles in Vanity Fair, all right? And there's a guillotine there that used to be part of it that he decided that it needed to stay there. And Dave Mathers told me on the beach that night that he actually knew the band, and sometimes he plays drums and hangs out with him. I mean, it's just a weird kind of like coincidence. And then he's in that Air Force Base, and that Air Force Base is connected to the Dave McGowan story and the Laurel Canyon about how the military has been part of the, well, we're talking John Lennon. We're talking the counterculture movement was said to have been birthed outside of like the mamas and the papas and, what's his name? We were just talking about the other day, Jeff, I think. Frank Zappa. And then those tunnels that are going through that area. I just thought it was a weird coincidence to happen. Anyways, I'll shut up and keep going. I'm just stopping for a second.
Because the Greys were continually attacking him.
Yeah.
And this is something which Lisa Williams has been pursuing, and we're trying to get the work of Ron Adams out there in some way or other. But this refers also to RAF Bentwaters and mile abductions of his family there.
Right.
Big spiders.
Yeah. Okay. Big spiders, not the ones we were talking about yesterday.
Not the Scuttler type. I'm talking about things about 12 feet wide.
Okay, no, I've never seen those.
Now, there's just one thing I want to point out to you guys while you're watching this interview. Miles interjects a lot, and I think he distracts Max of what he's saying, like I'm doing right now. But he distracts him, and then tries to like hook these other types of conspiracies or things that aren't a part of anything that he's talking about. And in a way, I think Max is being kind of polite and kind of nodding his head and agreeing with him and this and that. But I think Miles does that on purpose because he needs to control the dialogue. That's my take.
James Casbolt referred to it as diamond spiders
of the Saturn moon, Iapetus, which is
Iapetus.
Yeah,
is that where they're from?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's not sort of something that I know a lot about, but I've heard other people
Sarah
speak about
referred to that. Sarah's off camera now, but referred to war or battle with them in Antarctica.
Yeah. It's not something I know enough about.
Okay. Okay, well, let's stick to the basic ritual magics. And
this connects to Tony Blair too. Connects directly to Tony Belair. If you change his name,
Belair.
Belair. Actually, Belair in Beverly Hills is also connected to it as well.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase.
Yeah. Okay.
The Sir Bob Geldof.
Yes. If you're knighted, if you become a Sir,
Peaches.
If you become a Sir, Peaches Geldof, yeah.
And you're also saying that Geldof was responsible for the murder of Hutchison.
When I say responsible, he may not have been calling the shots from all the way at the top.
I mean, let's face it, his wife was having an affair with him, so he probably felt a bit mad about it.
Right, and he's a gangster. I mean, primarily,
this is all very serious.
He's an Irish gangster, and he's
what evidence do you have for that?
Yeah, I suppose so, because he's the head of, he does the Live Aid, and it's remember, he's working on reversal, so all these guys at that level are working on reversal. If you're heading like the Royal Society for Protection of Children, is the society that connects together that abuses children. The Live Aid concerts that are set up there that are about to save people in, set up Ethiopia, Sudan, etc., are actually not. They're harvesting children. They're harvesting the kids connected to the King Solomon bloodline. And when a lot of these high-level Cabalistic celebrities are getting children from there, they're finding specific children who have the DNA line from King Solomon, so then they're able to put energy or entities into them to continue on that way.
Now, how do they do that? What's involved?
Okay, so there's lists. At the highest levels, they have lists. They know where all the bloodlines have migrated to from the beginning. They know where they've all gone, all through Africa, Asia, North America. They know where they're at. Right? If you're connected to a bloodline, you're being tracked. They know where you are.
This is what people are saying the National Health Service is set up to do in this country.
Absolutely.
By the Nazis. It was set up by the Nazis when Britain lost the war.
Project Oak Tree was specifically to do with that.
Project Oak Tree was to do that? I thought Oak Tree was a time travel thing.
Oak Tree was tracking bloodlines from 1950, from the 50s. Actually, my family's connected to that. And they were tracking bloodlines from there. And the children of the parents who were born in the 50s, which would be me, born in the late 70s, were then tracked through another project. I think that's a little bit connected to Mannequin and Peasmore. I'm kind of going off track here, but
all right. I just want to. I saw a post by Vanessa, and I want to acknowledge that because it stands out so much. I see spiders pretty much every night, about 12 inches wide. They run fast, often red. I'm used to them. What in the heck are they? Really? Huh. That's interesting that you see them too. Let me put my glasses on here for a minute so I like more subdued party lighting at nighttime. It's true that possessions happens with strong and famous people. Yeah, Marios. And he's going to mention that he's going to make a reference to Johnny Depp having different personalities and how, he's been on television and said things like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, I think, and I was sharing this with another friend of mine today. I actually had somebody ask me and tell me, like, I thought they were wanting to work a project with me, and I finally got to the point. I said, well, what is it that you want from me right now? And he said, and he pointed to the Forever Cemetery, and they were, of course, there's celebrities born there. And he goes, you see those people over there? And I go, yeah. He goes, they want to walk the green carpet. Because at the time I was very much part of the cannabis movement. And, I guess I could have been a cannabis celebrity or something, and they go, they want to walk the green carpet. And to me, that was him saying, are you willing to let them come through you? I think that there are some actors that take shortcuts. There's some entertainer. I call it, to me, this is like taking a shortcut. It's like not trusting your own creativity and talent that's God-given, or that you come into this incarnation with, and it's a gift. Not doing that by taking a shortcut and allowing, a past person or entity or something like that live out. Like, for example, when Beyonce says it's Sasha Fierce before me, it's not really me. I have an altar. Well, what something happens, something comes through them when they have that altar.
In terms of the fact we're so close to Peasmore here, in Little Wiltshire, Rothschild land next door, a lot of stuff in the bargain last night, energies and stuff like that.
We were establishing that the Rothschilds are at the top. I mean, at the top level, the highest that it goes. That the head of the Rothschild family is the Pindar. So it's the man who runs the whole show. Comes from the Rothschild family. He's been doing that certainly for the last 200 or 300 years. You're
talking about basically the planetary, the planetary or the solar system lord that runs the manor.
He is the go-between for the inner Earth reptilian species and the outer, the external hybrids. So he's the one, the go-between. He's the head. He calls. He was the only person who the Queen Mother would had to kind of cower away from. Was Pindar is above
Right, and this is the model, basically the model where all planets are actually gates. They're surrounding black holes, and this is what Nassim Haramein and people are talking about. So the inner Earth, the inner Sun, is the black sun.
Yes,
but it's got a
Vanessa. So they're not? They're from? Are they in a different dimension? Is it? Is it a? Do you think it's like something else? Like you can see it. You're seeing something, but it's not in this physical reality. Because sometimes, like, I don't know about you guys, but I see stuff. Like, I see one time I was actually with Stephen D. Kelly, and like one of the first times I met him, and we both saw an entity like go, like flicker and go, and we knew it was something. We both of us saw it at the same time. And yet it wasn't physical here. I've had experiences like that. Like I've seen something or I've heard something, that's not in, it's not in, it's near you. It's maybe doing something to you or trying to, or whatever, or it's looking at you or whatever, but it's not in this reality. I know for some people who are watching me, they go, "Oh, you're getting really trippy now." But I think that a lot of us have seen stuff like that. So
a residue of a light around it.
Yeah.
As at the energy shell around it, which provides light for the inner Earth.
Right.
Which is on the lower side of the Earth's crust.
Yeah.
We're just talking about it in a mechanical 3D way.
Okay.
And then that's the real inner Earth, whereas the underground tunnels, which are maybe a few hundred feet down, or half a mile down, or a mile down, those are nothing to do. We're not talking about
there's oceans and
Yeah, Biggie, 21. This is National Hemp Month, and I'll make sure that I include my article that I wrote in this. I did the cannabis literacy essay. Yeah, hemp hooray, man.
Forestry and all sorts in the pockets in the inner Earth. You wouldn't.
So it's not one big empty hollow. It's all there's lots of complex lands, and that is
absolutely
explained in some way by Lord of the Rings.
Totally, yeah, and the connections to Lord of the Rings. Tolkien was an insider and connected to the old before MI6. So he was an insider then and knew information. He was also Ian Fleming. Also, Ian Fleming and Crowley were good friends.
Yes, and also Roald Dahl.
Absolutely, yeah, but Roald Dahl is deeply entrenched. All of Roald Dahl's books are totally involved, deeply entrenched in mind control. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka now, when I watch it, it's ridiculous.
And then the remake with Johnny Depp, was it?
Yeah, and Johnny
Depp do it?
Yeah, Johnny Depp did it. Yeah, he's handled by, and I've forgotten his name, Tim Burton. Tim Burton, the director, Tim Burton, who's married to a Rothschild. She plays I can't think of her name, but she plays Pandora Spock in the Harry Potter movies.
Right.
Helena Bonham Carter is her name.
Helena Bonham Carter.
She's actually she's the granddaughter of a Rothschild, and so her name's really Rothschild. She's married to Tim Burton. Those two have Johnny Depp has multiple personalities. Doesn't watch his own movies, as we discussed. Can't watch them because he doesn't.
So let's get back to the murder and killing involved with the rock industry.
With Peaches. Yeah. Okay. So
basically, the link to this is James Casbolt stood up in the barge and recently annoyed a lot of people. He said a lot of things. We won't go too much into the detail, but one of them was this list of which I'm on it as endangered species, but also my former colleague Joanne is on it as a drone.
Right.
Also a number of other people, but crucially, the recent death of Peaches Geldof.
Right.
Is that the right name?
Peaches is right, but
Peaches. The basic idea is that she was murdered.
Yeah, she was ritually murdered. Yeah, and so you remember.
Okay, I'm stopping it for a second because I can't get this hemp thing to go off of the thing. Like when it's going, it won't do it. Okay, and then I saw something from Jeff. McGarren was dead wrong about Frank Zappa. Really? Okay. I would be willing to talk about that, because I'm not. I really think that the CIA does have a lot to do with the entertainment industry and the music business and everything else. And I think that there is I've seen. Okay, and then Jeff is saying, Ike started Pindar BS in the Rothschild. I mean, maybe it's not Zappa, or maybe it's not, but I think he presents an interesting idea, and I do think that the military and the CIA is controlling the entertainment industry in many ways. They're used as consultants in movies. There is. I totally think that that the media uses it for social engineering. That's my feeling. I've always known, even when I worked in the entertainment industry, that there were things that you could do and not do, or they were going to accept this and not accept this, and this is the way it was, and there's a certain image that they show, and there's a lot of propaganda, and there's things that if you say or talk about it or represent it politically, you're toast. I also, when you look into the back in Los Angeles, when there was the Crips and the Bloods, and a lot of people feel that when the CIA were shipping, bringing in cocaine and creating crack cocaine into the black neighborhoods, and then they were armed to kill each other. That whole thing right there is about, and then you have the rap music that was part of it. And a lot of people think that the CIA, played a part in that. It is something that when you look at it, it makes you wonder. I mean, wasn't there was that one police officer that kind of discovered it, a Los Angeles cop, and then he ended up committing suicide, ironically, like everybody else, right? Okay. I'm not saying CIA isn't involved in the music business. I'm saying Frank Zappa was not under their control. They hated him. He woke a lot of people up. He woke me up at age 17. Oh, okay. Wow, you knew Frank Zappa. That's kind of cool. I actually accidentally backed into Ahmad Zappa's car when I was working in Comedy World, but there was no scratches. So, but I was totally freaked out when I was like backing up and I bumped his car that was parked, and I was like, "Holy crap! It's Ahmad Zappa." That's my closest thing that I've ever had to the Zappa family. Anyway, CIA was behind LSD hippie movement. They say yes. I mean, yeah, and it's part of. It was used in mind control too. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. It was. I was horrified, to be honest with you, Jeff. And I want to say something else about Ahmad Zappa, who's very funny, by the way. He kept getting in trouble because on Comedy World, because we were going over to a regular, we were on the internet, but we were also FCC, and I read like this, warning or whatever, and they kept saying that Ahmad kept referencing cornhole, like that was offensive, that he kept calling things cornhole and this and that, and I was just like, oh my god. Okay, anyway, enough about that.
Remember, all the ritual murders are all planned at the birth or pre-birth of the child anyway. So they already know. They already know that this child is going to be ritually killed at a certain time. They know it on the 19th birthday that this child is then going to be taken out. Happened with Eric Clapton and his child Connor Clapton.
Good night, Mario.
Who fell out the window. Yes. This was so. There's a price for fame and
power.
We
talked to Misha Johnston at the Super Soldier Summit. I talked to her, and she explained that her father explained to her that in order.
Let's go back a little bit, because I think I want to make sure that this there was a lot of interruptions there, because this part about how the children, before they're born, even they know that they're going to sacrifice them at a certain age, and I just kind of think this part's interesting.
Tim Burton, those two have Johnny Depp has multiple personalities. Doesn't watch his own movies, as we discussed. Can't watch them because he doesn't.
So let's get
recognize
back
himself.
to the murder and killing involved with
Okay.
the rock industry.
With Peaches. Yeah. Okay. So
But basically, the link to this is James Casbolt stood up in the barge and recently annoyed a lot of people. He said a lot of things. We won't go too much into the detail, but one of them was this list of which I'm on it as endangered species. But also my former colleague Joanne is on it as a drone.
Right.
Also a number of other people, but crucially, the recent death of Peaches Geldof.
Right.
Is that the right name?
Peaches is right, but
yeah, Peaches. And the basic idea is that she was murdered.
Yeah, she got ritually murdered. Yeah, and so you remember all the ritual murders are all planned at the birth or pre-birth of the child anyway.
Explain that.
So they already know. They already know that this child is going to be.
Did you hear that other voice? They said explain that. So somebody else must have been in that room besides Miles.
Ritually killed at a certain time. They know it on the 19th birthday that this child is then going to be taken out. Happened with Eric Clapton and his child Connor Clapton, who fell out the window. This was so. There's a price for fame and
power. We talked to Misha Johnston at the Super Soldier Summit. I talked to her, and she explained that her father explained to her that in order to maintain this contract, one member of the family had to do certain things, and she explained how she was taken over and she married off for 2 years.
Misha was?
Misha Johnson.
Yeah.
And that was her. That was the contract fulfilled.
Right.
I understand. Now she explained that in great detail at Basis 20, whatever the hell it was, at the Super Soldier Summit.
Okay.
Which I'm not allowed to go to this year.
You're not allowed to.
Anyway.
I wonder, what he says. I'm not allowed to go to it. I want to go back just a second because, what did he get in trouble? Was there drama?
Price for fame and
we
power.
talked to Misha Johnston at the Super Soldier Summit. I talked to her, and she explained that her father explained to her that in order to maintain this contract, one member of the family had to do certain things, and she explained how she was taken over and she married off for 2 years.
Misha was?
Misha Johnson.
Yeah.
And that was her. That was the contract fulfilled.
Right.
I understand. Now she explained that in great detail at Basis 20, whatever the hell it was, at the Super Soldier Summit.
Okay.
Which I'm not allowed to go to this year.
You're not allowed to.
Anyway.
Scandal.
Yes, absolute scandal. Okay, let's cut to the chase.
Interesting. Okay.
So
Bob Geldof.
Yeah.
Daughter ritually murdered.
Right. He's a sir. You can be sure if they're a sir, they're in the inner circle. If you're knighted, if you get that, the Queen knights you, you're in the inner circle of that. So you're in the inner sanctum, and you sort of become untouchable on that level. Because once you have their protection, you kind of become untouchable.
That makes me think of Jimmy Savile right there.
Paula Yates, that was the name, right?
Yeah, Paula Yates.
Yeah.
He said Paula Yates. Okay, she was married to Bob Geldof, and then she had an affair with Michael Hutchinson from In Excess. Okay, and then of course he had a weird death. So now we're going to get into that.
Yeah,
interesting photograph in a very important gentleman's club for Penthouse.
Yeah, she was a monarch, and she was used sexually. So was Peaches. She was kind of handed around, but I think that certain monarch women get very get very liked, and when they get liked, they want to hold on to these certain men, want to hold on to them. And Michael Hutchins, who I don't think initially was connected to any of that. I mean, he's multiple personality, but he's not connected to what's going on now.
I mean, when he died, the funeral he was given was practically a state funeral. I mean, live television carried by Sky News,
right,
for this pop singer who basically died of a terrible thing. Very sorry, but this is rather
no, Miles. No, he was Michael Hutchinson from In Excess. He was not a pop singer. He was a rock star. Okay, let's not undermine who he was. Okay, and I think wasn't it autoerotic fixation death, kind of like what's the Keith David Carradine sort of. I think they kind of went the same way.
rather
overkill for a.
So when you give that much energy to, so it's televised, when you're throwing, anybody who's watching it is throwing their energy, the sympathy to it, that energy is harvested. And so, I'm assuming there was something important. I don't know what was important about him. I don't know.
I mean, this was covered in, I might have just said it, but you said that basically Geldof was responsible.
He had written letters, and you can find these letters on the internet. He'd written letters to Hutchins saying, if you don't leave her alone, if you don't stay away from her, I'm above the law. Something's going to happen.
So this is in the public domain. So we're not actually saying anything that hasn't already been said.
Just that particular thing, no. I mean that. Yeah, you can find.
It's like the Diana letters are going to bump me off.
Right, and when she also, yeah, exactly. She used to call them lizards. Yeah, Diana used to call them lizards. Yeah. So they. I think they had to destroy certain lines. Paulie Yates had to be. I mean, she OD'd, but I think there's something more to it than that. And they're all Cabalistic, and they're all connecting. OTO is based on a lot of Cabalistic thinking.
What is basically the Cabalistic thinking, just for people who don't know?
Okay, so you have the concept of the tree of life, which is actually missing one of the very important parts in it. One of the heart center parts. It's a diagram set up to show your way through the incarnating planes of existence. In this frequency that we're in, very accurate and very amazing information on there.
Okay, just to clarify the Michael Hutchins, it says in November 1997, In Excess lead singer Michael Hutchins was rumored to have died from autoerotic asphyxiation in a Sydney hotel room, although an inquest ruled he had committed suicide by hanging himself with a belt. His partner, Paula Yates, insisted he had died accidentally when a sex game went wrong. And that was, I guess this was, this is the Sydney Morning Herald. So, there you have it.
Coded in the works of Shakespeare.
Absolutely, which is Bacon, right? Really? Yeah. Bacon and a couple of others.
John Dee.
Yes. John Dee, who was the original 007, right?
Oh, well, we're talking, yeah, all right. We're talking Queen Elizabeth time.
Yes, he was. Yeah. The reason it was 007 too is because of the two eye. The 00 was his eyes, and the 7 he was the eyes for the Queen, was to cover up like that. So he was saying.
All right. Yeah. Very good. So okay. So what happened with Geldof, and then of course we started the conversation based on you too as well. Might as well bring all that in. The whole rock industry, really.
Well, with the OTO, I think they seem to be pushing that a lot more at the moment as an enlightening sort of passage to find, and it's good for you. Crowley isn't bad. There's bad and good, I guess, are relative anyway. But certainly when you go that route. Going down and practicing those sort of levels, it gets particularly dark. I know a few people who committed suicide who were involved in the OTO.
So are we basically saying that anything that sounds good on a rock musician level, the whole pop music industry, is basically a satanic ritual cult to milk us?
I think that it's a little bit unfair, perhaps, to say anything, but I would certainly say that the industry itself, the main machine, if you're hearing it on the radio, if you're seeing it in the stores and in the industry like that, yes.
This is a particular interest to me because I did a lot of pirate radio, and I couldn't understand why pirate radio was so stamped on, because it really wasn't anything to do with a frequency. Using a frequency, I was a very naughty boy. But I mean, there must have been the vehemence in how they pursued that.
Yeah.
Exceeded the alleged crime, really.
Okay.
So there must have been some other motive. So this explains why only certain individuals are allowed to do this.
Yeah.
Broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I'm going off track again, but walking the red carpet, when you walk down the red carpet, the implications are you're walking through the blood of the Goyim, or the general populace, and because you're from bloodline. And that's what they're telling you.
The Goyim being
the mass
word
public
for
sheeple,
just
sort of thing.
Scum
of
the earth.
Useless eaters, as Kissinger, right?
Yes.
Kissinger said. Yeah. So if you're walking that carpet, you are, that elitist mentality. And
I mean,
he's
there's
like,
something Irwin refers to greatly, that the fifth race, the so-called Nephilim, he calls them the Nephilim, although there's lots of different racial types we can apply to these, what Chris Thomas calls Valon, who come here to basically...
Now he's going to try to control the narrative a little bit there. See, now we're going to go into the Nephilim, and we're going to go off track for a moment.
Take over the planet.
Yeah, there's been a wrestling match to do that, and they can't. You have to use the front human form to do it.
Yeah,
it's too shocking otherwise.
It is why? Explain. Sorry.
Because we've been doing the consciousness of the human stream that's here now is so used to just seeing and being told that the human being is at the top of the food chain and we're the rulers of this and that and we're that it's too shocking. Has been too shocking to bring in a new species and do it. It's not conducive to keep the control if they're going to do it that way. So they need to hide behind the human form. That's all in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth's Emerald Tablets too. It explains how that was done.
These Emerald Tablets are nothing to do with what John Irwin found. His team, not his team, he was involved in the team and discovered 2 data banks. Which are...
Here we go with John Irwin. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, now we're on John Irwin. And I gotta say, most of the time when John Irwin, most of the time these things that are said about John Irwin are not usually true, or Miles has construed the story around. That's how I met John Irwin, because I did an interview with Miles, and I asked him a question about Max, and he diverted to John Irwin. Like, he didn't even answer the question hardly. And then John Irwin heard that interview and said, what he said about me isn't true. And I said, well, do you want to come on my show and set the record straight? And then that's how I interviewed John Irwin. So Miles makes up a lot of John Irwin stuff. And I noticed that Vanessa said something here that was, I think, kind of interesting about more amazing was the coverage of Max's death. Why? Yes, that is a really interesting question, because why would the mainstream media take their, decide, want to, in the world that Max is in, it's like the world that we've been a part of watching here on the internet, which you would be considered to be fringe UFO conspiracy. He got huge coverage in the mainstream media over that. And they did concentrate on that key, friend of Orlando Bloom. And then, obviously maybe because, of your dad, because of Max's grandfather too, I thought, well, maybe that has something to do with it. And when I think this is my theory, that whenever the media, whatever the media is, will try to control the narrative, if it's wanting to hide something that might be true, or that might be going on, or that might have been foul play, then they'll swing the viewpoint either way to shine, oh, okay, so he was an addict, and he was an addict, and it was determined that is how he died. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there wasn't some sort of foul play going on in the end of it. There's a lot of circumstances around Max's death that gives us question marks, including the days that are leading up. And there's another thing I want to point out too, and I probably pointed out before on my shows, is about what this media has done. Even before Max's autopsy was done, because it seemed like it took forever for it to get done. And, even before that, James Rink released a photo, not a photo, but a video of Max drooling, at I guess he filmed him at some sort of summit they were at. And I'm thinking, okay, did James Rink sit on that material, that video footage? How many people took advantage of Max in an altered condition and then put a camera on him? Did he hold that footage why didn't he release it right away? Like, why is it like before the autopsy happens, he decides to put that out on YouTube for people to see, to make us understand collectively, oh yeah, that's how he died. He OD'd. Yeah, there's evidence right here of him in an absolutely fucked up state. So I'm thinking, why would he do that? Like, who sent on material and then decides to like show it at an opportune time? That's my question on it, on that behavior that people do. Like, for example, I'm going to bring up that one lady, Sippy Talker. Sippy Talker had footage on another guy, Lionel Real, where Lionel Real like admits to being in these underage chat rooms for gay people, gay kids. And then there's a video of him talking about how he got excited about being in, like, he got sexually turned on. That's what she had harboring in her pocket, and then doled that out when after she wanted to control him. Like, who does that? That's like blackmail in a way. It's like, that means that the person who has something over you can also control you at the same time and make you do things that you normally wouldn't do. All right.
Are inscribed with fine lines like a CD, and they have moving pictures and information on them that he was involved with a raid in Jarraba in 1959 to get two of these devices.
Oh, they were actually looking for them.
They were actually looking for them, and that's why they're bumping.
You know what? Those tablets, it were made like, this is the part where Miles is just in like connecting something to something else. Those tablets, to my understanding, weren't necessarily, they were searching for the talk tablets. Okay, so, but here we go.
Many people all around the Middle East at that time, 57, 58, 59.
Okay. They found them?
And they got 2 out of the 6.
So there's 4 still.
Well, there were 4 at that time in the hands of others, but they were able to recover them from what would have been an equivalent of a Bilderberger type meeting in 1959 in the Middle East, which was designed to, and 2 flying saucers took off and flew away. Big ones, huge things. And he went in, his raid was successful. They got them. But now they've got the use of these secrets and technologies, which is why we're having to tell all this stuff now.
Right. Okay, I'm understanding. Yeah. A lot of the information can be downloaded into crystals too. I think the crystal skulls, I'm going off track again, but the crystal skulls carry massive amounts of God mind information. If you can,
what's God mind? I
think so I'm thinking that might be the collective oversoul of this area of the universe. So if you could put all the information for all the technology that's necessary, all the information of the true galactic history, all the information of really what's gone on in the inner wars that's gone on, because this is just a massive, it's a prison planet, but it's an inner war constantly.
Okay, let's just get down to summaries. What is the Earth? Who are we? And what is the whole point of life and death here? If you have that.
Yeah.
We're all ETs, 7 billion of us. We're all not indigenous to this planet.
Absolutely,
we have 5 races.
I mean, that's a heavy question. Like, who has the answer to that? Like, in a way that I feel like as a person, I'm in search of that. Like, who are we? Like, what is happening here? Like, that's a huge question. I mean, I don't even, anyway, let's see what Max says.
More.
5 broad types. Okay, fine.
I think that you've got something. I think 13 streams, 12, 13 streams. I
mean, you've mentioned the Committee of 300.
Yeah. I'm not talking about
Cole,
family. I'm not talking about bloodline families now. I'm talking about, they're always using 13 because it's a crucial number, crucial Cabalistic number, and the letter M, or the number which is the 13th letter of the alphabet, all that is constant. That's why you have McDonald's constantly imprinting on your subconscious, that because 13 is the birth and death cycle. So keep coming back. You die, you come back again, you're coming back again. So most of us here are caught in a loop in a cycle.
Mobius loop,
Yeah.
like in Infinity.
And over and over again, incarnating in similar lifetimes.
Related to the precession of the equinoxes, the way the Earth solar system and this part of space goes through this convoluted.
It reinforces it too when you see that. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday. When you're seeing that and the sun coming up and going down, and the whole system like that reinforces. So it's a ritual in itself.
Okay, fine. So we've got the 13 families.
I think it's 12 or 13 different genetic races that are here.
I mean, we're talking about the Sasquatch,
which is a bear race. Sasquatch is the original human hybrid.
The original hominid race here that was brought here by.
Yeah. The original humanoid race?
That's incorrect. That is incorrect. Okay, Sasquatch is still in the myth category, and I don't even think that you can use the original goes back so many different years. The evolution. If you want to go there, all right. No, no, Miles. It's not Sasquatch.
Is Lyra is a Lyran race, is the original human race. The Lyrans turned to the Pleiadians, but the original ones are blonde, blue beings from Lyra, long time ago.
Now you're talking. Erwin's was referring to mentioning this because this connects with the basis things. But the thing is that he's saying that he was briefed in 1959 or 57.
What if Sasquatch is just a really large man who just decided that he didn't want to shave? Like he's just extra large and hairy. I'm kidding. Anyway, that's stupid.
The original hominid species here, one of the earliest ones were the Sasquatch that lived for 900 years, and they fought naked and danced with the dinosaurs. That dinosaurs with them. That's that sort of timeline. You're talking about an earlier race or species?
The Lyra star system is much before that, millions of years old. The original humanoids, and who then became sort of the Pleiadian or Pleiadian system. There's been a huge war between these blonde blue Nordic beings and the Draco, the Alpha Draconis. I think they like the genetics of them. So they've sort of been chasing them around all the way.
So who's been chasing you around?
The Draco, this particular reptilian species, which is the ones from the Orion area, Alpha Draconis.
Now I know, like I saw Jeff made a comment, like the Pindar and the Rothschilds and the Pindar Rothschild thing. I don't know if that's real or not. Like the whole reptilian thing, right? Is I don't know. I'm kind of like, the thing that gets me about the reptilian thing is that there's somebody that I dated while I was waking up, okay? And this person is, connected. His family was in the music business. He's connected. I want to say connected. And I've mentioned him before. And, years later, he, after I understood what reptilians were, because when I first met him, this conversation was something that we didn't have. He revealed to me that he came from an Illuminati family and that he was reptilian. And, he said, and I'm not your first one you've been with, meaning that I slept with somebody else who was reptilian. And then I created a joke and I go, what am I, the whore for the reptilians? Like, what's going on here? And then I was like, reptilians, the other white meat. I had to make, and he would say, you should do material about it. He's doing material about it himself, because he says that people need to understand what's really happening, like what is possible. And the last time I saw him in person, he told me that he goes, again, I saw him and boom, he goes, hey, let's talk. And then we sit down and we start talking and boom, he's telling me about stuff about the reptilians. And he said to me, the purebreds are the ones that are crazy, just like a purebred dog, or like a purebred animal is weaker. He goes, in the psychopaths, are the insane ones, and those are the ones that are running the country. The world are the psychopaths. And he goes, that's who we have to get under, get out control, get them out of the way, because they're destroying everything. And so make what you will out of this. That's why, okay, if he wasn't in my life, if this man, and I've known him since I was 25 years old, if this man was never a part of my life, I would go, yeah, reptilians, totally not true. But because I have such admiration, even for him as a talent, and I know where his family is from, and I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want to tip off to who he is. I don't even want to really, I've talked about him so much, I'm afraid I've given his identity away. But that makes me wonder. And to talk about reptilians now and to make jokes about reptilians, it is common. Like, I've tried it out. I even did it at my college. I did stand up for extra credit in my English 3 critical thinking class, and I did jokes about reptilians, and they freaking laughed. This is a very common conversation now in many ways. It didn't used to be. When he was talking about it, it was like, oh my God, this is weird.
The really big
I mean, even talk about somebody in the entertainment business, the guy that, Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan. Look it up. There's a story where he talks about somebody that he knows shape-shifting. Yeah. I mean, and that's Billy Corgan. I mean, you could say, oh yeah, he did drugs or whatever. It's not true. But, and to think about it, we have the reptilian, we have their brain. We have reptilian brain. That's our fight. Part of us is, every person has a part of their brain that's reptilian, right?
Dinosaur looking.
Yeah.
Reptilians have been warring with the Nordic blonde blues for millions of years. And the war was brought to Earth. That's when you had Atlantis and Lemuria. Atlantis was populated by the Nordic blonde blues, and Lemuria was populated by the reptilians. But you can never have a reptilian and mammalian species getting on because they're complete opposites. So how to make a being in constant confusion, give it a human body and put split of mammalian and reptilian genetics inside it, so we're constantly at odds with the way we feel.
But then there's also this thing about now, which is the whole point of the Casbolt thing and Jeff Scott thing, where you have a reptilian unity to create a new bloodline, where you have the swastika marrying in with the Star of David. That the alien movement is like that.
Right, the Raelian.
Yeah, the Raelian.
Yeah.
They're the people who've publicly been known to do the first cloning.
Okay.
Publicly.
Okay.
I want to bring up the Reptilian Society because Holly had mentioned that he heard that if that might be where James Casbolt might have went to, or it wasn't. It ended up connecting to the Raelian, but it was like a Maitreya, which connects to the Raelian. The Maitreya people connect to the Raelian people, and they also advocate. Another thing is that women should be allowed to go topless on the beach, and they do a protest. They do a free the boobs protest on Venice Beach. FYI.
A little bit about it. I'm not, but that makes sense.
Why does it make sense? Is it the creation of a new bloodline because we've got a problem? They've shot themselves in the foot.
Certainly for a while they interbred, that this particular reptilian stream interbred too much, and so they overdid the reptilian DNA, so they weren't able to hold a physical mammalian form, and which is no good. So the DNA was becoming decrepit, and they would have to continually consume DNA or hormones from mammalian beings, animals or humans, but humans would be better.
Cows.
The greys, which are reptilian and
I mean, there's a lot of cow stuff going on.
Yeah, take the internal organs,
take
the whole system.
Cattle mutilations.
Yeah. Pigs. So the pig too. So the pig, if they
is that why Jews can't eat bacon?
The domesticated pig is disturbingly a cross between a human and a wild boar. So that's why they say it's the most intelligent animal. So initially, before
we treat it really badly.
Yeah, absolutely. And consuming it is basically cannibalism in a way, unfortunately.
Energetically.
Yes, energetically, yeah.
Okay, we're a bit off the point
Yeah.
from the rock industry, and but what about the wider aspects of the so-called satanic? I mean, there's various videos on YouTube about and in the media about major rock figures, people like Bob Dylan.
Okay, like he's going to talk about Jimmy Page here in a minute. Jimmy Page was major into the occultism, but there's comments. Hey, Deborah Kill, I think they are frightened of us humans because they know how powerful we are. I think you've heard the theory that we're waking up and we're realizing our powers, and they don't want us to be able to do that because we probably will be part of the creation of our reality. When we realize what we're actually really capable of, then that's probably what's happening. And then Jeff says Pindar. Okay, no one has claimed the Pindar is a reptilian. Yeah, okay. I've got a problem with the Pindar thing too. All right. And then especially when, James Casbolt is, saying that his father-in-law is actually Pindar, that's like, that to me is laughable. That's almost like saying, my father-in-law is actually Satan. It's like, it's so, let's say his father-in-law or ex-father-in-law is probably pissed to be it's pretty, anyway, that's really hard to buy. Deborah, we're evolving. Yes. And they've said, well, they're speeding up things because they know we are evolving and this we're understanding what reality is. I have a very reptilian friend. This is Super Soldier Healing, who likes heavy music, dresses very dark and likes rough things, but he's very gentle and caring to his wife. I hope so. Those reptilian people, I think that's what a lot of the vampire movies, the vampire movies that were out with Kirsten, the one Thomas, or is it Kirsten? Chris, you know what I'm talking about, the Bella and all those. They say that those movies are theirs in some way so that they want us to fall in love with the beast, or they want us to, not to call them beasts, but, there's like that kind of, I know that to me, that men that were kind of a little bit, like the stereotypical, like James Dean, leather jacket, kind of like a bad boy, it's hard not to be attracted to the bad boy. Bad boys, it's hard not to be attracted to him. That's all I got to say.
Jimmy Page is the one that comes to mind. Who bought Boleskine House? Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin, the lead guitarist. Yes. Bought Boleskine House and lived there for a couple.
The south bank of Loch Ness.
Yeah. Yes.
And
beautiful
I was there,
house.
been there. Yes.
Yeah.
Because the reason for that is it never sees sunlight. It never.
Like, I can't tell you how many goth guys I had crushes on. In some ways, or the rock guy or whatever.
Gets direct sunlight
okay.
Because of the way that the valley is and the latitude, the sun can come up and down all day long, and wherever it goes, it will never see direct
Crowley
sunlight.
was very careful to pick the exact right place to do this ritual that he was doing. He took a long time and was very careful to get the exact latitude, longitude, degree place, and that was the perfect place.
And that is a fault line, and that part of Scotland is part of the oldest part of the North American landmass. It's not part of this European landmass.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That section, the rocks, are very old.
And so you think Loch Ness is an interdimensional gateway in and of itself. I don't really know that much about Loch Ness Monster. I don't know. I just know that the site.
Or they've just used it as a
cover.
As a cover.
Yeah.
See anything odd.
So now we veered off to Loch Ness again. See how Miles does that? I want to point that out. Like, okay, in Max goes, well, I really don't know much about Loch Ness.
Possibly connection, as from what I know, Oaktree was connected to one of the alphabet agencies' way of tracing.
We go from Jimmy Page and the Occult, which is really interesting. Before I end, I'm going to show you that Mr. Mythos video, because I really highly recommend him. He does a whole thing on Jimmy Page and the demonology, the sigils that, that Aleister Crowley practicing, and the curse of Led Zeppelin. And then he also goes into the demonology, which will be a backup research for what Max is talking about. Because after I watched these videos and I came back and watched Max, I was like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now. In a way.
Particular bloodlines that were coming out.
But it's a time travel thing. Was he going back in time?
I don't know.
You did mention time travel.
I know.
Having coffee somewhere.
Yeah, I didn't
explain that, how certain groups were going back and forward in time.
Yeah. So there's two Montauk experiments that were set up. One at Montauk Point near New York in the U.S. There's also one next to the Alsace-Lorraine region of France. There's a whole Montauk setup that's done there. Actually, that's the one that's used now way more than the one in the US.
Do you have any closer details to that?
It was done. It was used for the same thing. I mean, so Crowley is connected to both of those too. Crowley was directly connected.
Yeah, and the Greys.
Yeah, and he was working for MI6 too. Crowley was working as
the Secret Intelligence Service
through the First World War. He was doing stuff with them, and went over to New York and worked for them there. Then connected with Winston Churchill too. Crowley was very used to admire Winston Churchill. They used to sit and talk a lot. Crowley was connected to Hitler. Used to sit and talk with him.
And it's interesting that Prince Charles in today's papers is saying that President Putin of Soviet Russia is another Hitler. Is a Hitler. He's compared him to Hitler.
Oh, really?
Which I think is very interesting.
Because he's connected to Rasputin too, direct descendant from Rasputin, who was the master black magician who attacked the Russian or destroyed almost the Russian royal family in the 1800s. Maybe I'm wrong, 1700s, 1800s.
Yeah. Early 1900s, and then took a long time to get bumped off. Yeah.
Right. Oh, they tried to kill him 7-8 times and couldn't kill him. They stabbed him, drowned him, shot him, and yeah. He was really so. He's the.
So what about the Rasputin? There's a
So you got
but Putin is on some of the conspiracy magazines being heralded as somebody who stopped World War III.
Okay, if he stopped it, there was a good reason for it, and it wasn't to be the savior of humanity. If he stopped it, it wasn't for helping you and I out, or he was doing it because he was doing it for selfish reasons. You can be sure of that. Yeah. He has very extremely high energy. He's one of the high level. But remember, he's external though. Still, we see him in the news. We see him externally. So he's not at the top.
Okay, so something else that Vanessa just posted. This is interesting. No, that's not it. Hi, Deborah. Wait, here it is. Oh, wow, Vanessa. Okay. Zeppelin bought Tower House in London, previously owned by Richard Harris, original wizard in Harry Potter. Tower House, many rituals there. Yeah, I really think Madonna's Super Bowl halftime show years back was said to be a ritual. Yeah, I think a lot of the Super Bowl and the Olympics, I think they do rituals in front of us all the time. Jeff, if a guy comes to date my daughter driving a hearse, I will drive him home while he is laying in the back of it. Cluster B's lack empathy, sociopaths, psychos, etc., etc. Isn't it weird how some people just completely lack empathy? It's unbelievable. I didn't even think it was possible, actually. Hi, Darren Garcia. At halftime shows are rituals. Yeah. You know what? Halftime. I don't even care about the football game. I just want to see I've always just been more interested in the halftime because, I'm not a football person. And then when you realize that it's a ritual, then it's just like, you watch it to see, what's happening now with it. Yes, that's why they have concerts at Glastonbury. It's on a major ley line. Okay, let's keep going.
The pyramid, anyone you see in the TV is not. So he's still.
In other words, if you know the name, heard it.
Yeah, they're not running it.
Yeah, and it's the usual phrase. If somebody says they know something that they don't know it. I mean, in many respects, we don't know it either.
Right. I have to just go with what's happened to me and with what I feel, and that's
all
the
we
best
can
I
do.
can do.
That's
with
all
that.
we can do. Yeah.
He's well. If you look at Vladimir Putin really carefully, you'll see that he looks like the royals, the Windsors. They're in sort of like the same. He's just another expression of that Windsor, Saxe-Coburg, Gotha, Germanic, reptilian bloodline that's running.
Now there are
Russia.
some people who are saying, I won't mention them, are saying that they're ready to leave.
They
have been found out
in a little bit of trouble,
and they're ready to pack their bags and go.
So they want to take everything out. They're like, if we can't have it, we're going to mess it all up for everybody else and then leave. And that's what they're planning. They've got the technology to get off here if everything goes to crap, you know?
Yeah. And what is that technology? Is jump gate technology or secret space programs, giant platforms, or what?
Absolutely, both. They know where all the jump rooms are. And,
which is one of the crucial things about John Irwin's thing, where the technology has gained that if you put all 6 of those bits together, you would have power over all the gates.
Oh, right.
In other words, the physical misalignments that have happened over time with the physical entrances on the Earth's surface, with degradation or whatever it is, it will reconnect all those. That was one of the things about those things, from what we understand. So this is 55 years ago.
Yeah, so they've done it. Then if that was 55 years, it's been handled and it's been done now.
So where does this bring us to this present time? I know we're rushing here because we've got to get out of this place very soon. But you got to catch a train and things.
Yeah, we've got a lot of time. Yeah,
But what's the solution to this in terms of the rest of the so-called humans who might want to survive and do something a bit more positive?
Right. I think that with the information and with the work that people like yourself and others are doing, if people on this planet are aligned with that higher frequency thinking, they're going to their higher self or their oversoul is going to make sure that they're in the right place at the right time so they don't get wiped out, because there are plans to do big wipeouts. I mean, the Georgia Guidestones,
exactly.
That unfortunately is going to happen.
They must have a technology to clean up the mess, though.
Right. They've got terraforming technology where they.
Isn't this interesting that looking like we just had the Georgia Guidestones blow up? And then there he is talking about it, back in 2014, explaining, what's going on with the Georgia Guidestones. And I don't know, I just want to say that I've been looking at certain things about what might be happening to the planet and the pole shift. And, we're in a lot of strife. Like right now, I even felt a little depressed today because I watched this video last night before I went to bed, and it was a scientist. I featured him before in this channel, and it just looks so bleak about it's quite possible that the human race is going to be. I hate to say this. I know this sounds awful, but maybe I shouldn't say it because Jeff's girls might be watching. But unless something happens, there could be something going on right now. And I think that it's important to realize it, and then or maybe question that it could be happening. When we've seen that the food prices going high, and it feels like now they're selling bugs for us to eat and everything. It's like, come on, man, why don't you let us grow hemp, and then we can make oil and have hemp. Like it's got all your omega-6 amino acids. We can have hemp oatmeal. Come on now. We can make hemp bread. Do we have to resort to bugs? Seriously, bugs. Thank you. No, you eat some freaking bugs. That's what I feel like saying. And I don't know if you guys have seen this. This is off the cuff again. I'm just going to go back to this really quick, but there's a new veggie meat, plant-based protein that apparently tastes like human flesh. And it won all these awards. And I'm thinking, all right, first of all, how do you make a plant-based hamburger or meat that tastes? How do you know what human flesh tastes like in order to make the plant-based thing? And then how do you have judges judge on it and go, yeah, that really tastes like human meat. We're going to give this the major award. Like, what the hell is up with that? I think that is so bizarre right there. Like, who is that for? Who is that product for? oh, you can't eat human flesh anymore, so we're going to make a plant-based protein human flesh meal. Like, does it taste like bacon? Like what Max is saying, like, does it taste like pork? Like, what's going on?
They can restart. They can make the trees grow in the desert. They have that technology very,
One of the
very
things
quickly.
I've just interviewed is a guy talking about some kind of cybernetic grass.
Okay.
Which can grow.
Like
and then I mean, Jesus, we're talking about grass, ordinary grass. So they will replace ordinary organic grass with this stuff which will communicate through the internet.
Yeah. Wow.
I just love what you said. You put the girls to bed, and basically he's saying that, we're going to be extinct. Like we're on the verge of being extinct. And who's to say, like, what made us think that we were the top of the food? Like Max says, like, that we're at the top of the food chain here. We're the end result. Homo sapien is the last prototype of the human race. Now, over time, the human race evolves into something else. We evolved. If you go through anthropology and you study, we evolved into being human. If you want to go with that theory, right? I mean, I know Max is saying Palladians and other races and Lyrian and things like this, and blonde hair, blue eyed, and maybe that's true too. I mean, but if you go through like evolution, if you're going to go the theory of evolution, there's the human or the survivors mutate. They have a mutation happen to them, and the mutated people, or animals with that mutation are the ones that will survive their environment, because that's basically survival of the fittest. I don't know if everybody knows that. I kind of didn't know that until I took my, totally that way, until I took my biology anthropology class. And by the way, I'm going to be tutoring that next semester. So yeah, that's my new job. I mean, it's a part-time job while I go to school, but yeah.
Cybergrass.
Okay.
I can't believe I just said that.
Right.
But why do they need cybergrass? It means they're maybe talking about a cyber world.
Well, if you get rid of and replace all the organic life forms here, which have which are connected,
destroy
to
all Mother Nature,
right? So you're taking the female out of it again. They've really done as much as possible to repress any female energy, which is creative force energy here. So if you're replacing organic life form with manufactured life form like that, you're destroying the human heart even more. And you've got the New World religion, which they want to implement. And if they want to put all this together, they've got to make sure they've got almost all their pieces into place. It's just things like this, doing this sort of, putting this information out here, because the energy we're giving off energy fields from this building that we're in now. And somebody 10 miles away can pick it up unconsciously.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's a problem.
Yes.
It's a problem for them. Yeah. So things like this make a far bigger impact than just the people who are going to watch it on the internet.
So how does humanity break this loop and walk on and as a way as it should be? I mean, humanity, if we look at the books of the Anastasia, the Ring of Cedars, the capabilities of humans living with nature, living with all the animals, and the wisdom and the capacity of higher thought and living in a positive way. I mean, the Russians have been trying to, in that area, teach new children, how to live in a higher consciousness way, and it's been under attack. If one reads the 8 books by, I think, a man Meg Ray.
Yeah.
How do we make that happen? How do we survive?
FYI, it's 11:11 right now here on the West Coast.
How do we survive this?
I think.
Is there a solution? Or do you have a solution?
I mean, I think what you're saying is right in terms of, like, obviously you want to get hold of the children, and they're the ones who are going to kind of create the new kind of thought forms and the new consciousness here. But it's very difficult to do it outright like that, because they have control of that. Anything to do with any of the system, the external system, that's education system, law system, all the systems are all inverted. So it's very difficult. I think this has to be collapsed before. This has to all go down.
I mean,
before
this is something the Black Goose talked about, solving.
It's going to reset. We're like at a reset.
Reset all life on the earth.
Yeah, like the DVD has come to the end, and it's going to restart again. But we've got to reset.
And see, and like he says reset, and then now what have we been having said? The Great Reset. Is there a correlation with that? Like it's got to go all down and then come back. We come back with the new.
Yeah, this has to end first, because you can't create a new thought structure, which is a new education system in the present state that the world's in. It won't work.
This is something which Mary Rodwell's talking about in great detail. The new children, the new higher children, the DNA is changing.
Yeah.
But in the education system globally, seems to be designed to attack them,
totally
shut them down, or create them into hyperactive children. They must be ill.
Right, giving them medications.
They need to medicate them back to.
Well, these medications are shutting down anybody who is sensitive, anybody who has those like high gifts. The stimulants that they give them.
So in many respects, Sarah's life being shut away
was a very good way to stop her doing what she was came here to do. Absolutely, and they did do a pretty good job of shutting her down, and they can't anymore. But they and it's not going to plan. I don't feel, for what they had for her. But,
who is they, and what can we do about it? What can others do about it? How can others?
So I think a lot of volunteers have incarnated here into the human, into this human, this stream of consciousness that we're in, this frequency that we're in right now, but the thing is, they have every human being has an energy signature and a sound harmonic vibration and it's individual. When you come here, you're creating a sound frequency. They have complete tracking of all of those people.
This is what Google have publicly stated.
This is targeted individuals. This is why where targeted individuals come from. So they need the volunteers. I mean, one would assume that you are also there, and this is because you're opening up, you're shaking the system up, and so you're under attack. Like we talked about when you got hit with that wrought iron gate, that caused you all the problems that happened with you. The same thing, and a lot of the issues that I've had.
Ball, but we'll not talk about that right now. It was way beyond coincidence the way that happened.
Yeah.
So what about yourself, Max?
Yeah.
What about you, Max?
Okay.
Where did you come from? Because it was a surprise to see another Brit at the Super Sub Summit. And we briefly talked about that at the Super Sub Summit last year. So we got another Brit on the scene.
Yeah.
And I've been speaking to another guy called Kieran, who's full of implants. And he's hulked out. He's had the hulking out experience like Dave Marrow.
In the palms of my hand, I have two of them. And then you can see the line scars.
They're called T27.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, the T27s are actually an animal tracking implant.
Okay.
Designation.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I have one that I'm aware of in the top of my thigh here, one here, and there's a birthmark I have on my right shoulder, and underneath there I have buzzing that goes on underneath there. The one in my leg, even when it feels like
the right knee, below the right knee,
it's at the top of my thigh here. It feels like a cell phone. When you have a cell phone buzz, you're vibrating. It does that, and when that's connected with the buzzing I get in my left ear. So these are just, this is just tracking stuff and ways to steer you off course using sound weaponry. They like to use sound, definitely on me, use sound weaponry.
Acoustic scalar wave technology.
Yeah, because I'm very, very sensitive to sound. And one of the attacks they did on me actually was in my throat area. Throat chakra was something they attacked. And because I can heal through the voice.
I can heal through the voice. That's interesting. We're going to get back to that. Super Soldier Healing, you're saying, your question is like, he said Sarah was shut down. What was the reason they gave her the medication? Anyone knows? I don't know. I'm thinking I don't know exactly all the details that he's referring to in terms of what they did to Sarah and how they slowed her down, but it looks like was she institutionalized at one point, or is Sarah controlled now? Well, that's a good question. I mean, like if you were in the program, was Max controlled? Was Sarah controlling Max? Are there various people that you can't really put it on one person? like, oh, they have one consistent handler their whole life, or is it just a multiple people come into your life and kind of shape you? Like, how does it? She claims her mother locked her away like an animal. Question mark, question mark. Yeah. See, Super Soldier Healing, a lot of people are not sure if Sarah is actually even real in what she says. And you have to realize, too, that at this time, they were probably their relationship was probably good. Like, obviously, it doesn't look like she seems like she was still in his life at that point when he did this interview. Isn't Sarah the daughter of Kathy O'Brien? No, she's not. Yeah, no. Yeah, Holly Baglio goes, no, yeah, no, she's not related to Kathy O'Brien. She claims to have been raised in, like, she's French or from France, or, like she's came from a Merovingian family. And okay, yeah. And then she talks about being in the cages and stuff. Or my lab as well. Why would you think that, Tamara? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, Deborah, why did you think that she was the daughter of Kathy O'Brien? Did she say that she was, or did you hear somebody say that she was? I mean, because it could happen, like an animal. So she was abused as a child. She claims to have been abused as a child. But a lot, like almost everybody that's been under, according to my understanding, everybody who's been under mind control has had some sort of conditioning or it's trauma-based mind control. It's so, although they've said that there's ways now to program people without the trauma, I heard, but okay. Like, it might not be your family that abuses you, it might be like it's not like, oh, somebody's, or it could have been one parent and not the other, or it could have been the school or the institution or a neighbor or something, someone else in the family, You
can do healing when you're speaking to someone. You can use healing from vocal sounds, and if you shut that down, that was a
so
way.
You've gone through a similar path to James and others. Have you met others?
I have met a couple of others.
Sarah Stanger?
Yeah, I haven't met Sarah. No, I haven't met Sarah Stanger. No, I know who she is, and we've spoken, and she remembers me.
And Nina Vallon?
Yeah. And Nina's another one. Yeah. These people have had some mirrored experiences. It was amazing to speak to anybody who's sort of gone through anything similar to that, because for the longest amount of time, why would you want to tell anybody about any of these things? One, it's shameful. So the things that happen put a lot of shame on you, and two, there's always the thing that someone's gonna, cut you off.
Yeah.
So you
like Jeff says here, right? Jeff says Sarah's full of BS, says a lot of BS. I think so too. Like, it's hard to believe for some people. I think some people have exploited what this is for their own benefit in some ways. Although, you could say, okay, like, for example, I think even Christine Hart has talked about like her past and stuff. And then like you have Sarah, and like there's a lot of people that come forward and said, all right, I have been mind controlled. I have multiple personalities. Like Holly's one of them, a person like that, that has multiple personalities. I think that has actually really happened to people. And like he talks about Johnny Depp. So, I guess in a way I can't totally outrule that Sarah, if she is who she says she is, and she isn't BS totally, then on some level maybe she is controlled. But I think that at some point as a person, you can make a choice to wake up and not do things that harm other people or that you're being deceptive. the one thing I liked about Max is I think that Max was really interested in talking about the topics that he talked about, and he did it to educate people. You know, it was like, well, this is some stuff that I've learned because I'm trying to discover myself. And so he shared that information with us. And I think what we are all wondering is like, because he shared that information, is that why he was taken, you know, targeted? Was that why he was taken out? Was that like, and then you got to go, okay, well, because, you know, I think it's important not to go, oh, well, Max knows everything. Or that anybody that when they say something that they have everything exactly right. But, you know, in it, you have to think, well, what part of it is real? Like what part of it was a threat to him in the end for exposing those things. And when I look at these videos, and we looked at the other one, you know, I showed the other one of the interview that Miles did in the past, right? Where he talks about the Mona Lisa, and he talks about like he's talking about like the, you know, King Solomon and all these kind of occult things, and bringing in how the occults affected, you know, the entertainment industry, and, you know, Bob Geldof and you know, Peaches, and, you know, these kind of like deaths that happen, or things that might be ritual that exists in the entertainment industry, and then also in, you know, our history, in the part of human history, and there are things that he's saying here that other people have said too. Like, you can go back and back up like what he's saying by looking into demonology or looking into what those things are, and then kind of following, you know, the actual really practices of the occult. He's not saying things that you can't go back and reference. And I think this is, for me, this is my favorite part, or this is where about what he's done, is to talk about these particular things that I think are tangible. Take out the, you know, the UFOs and, you know, portals, and, you know, even, you know, if you want to let go of the reptilian thing or shape-shifting or whatever, when he's talking about like the occult and the ritual practices and the things that he says, you can go find those things, that information, in other places, and legitimately find that to back it up, if you even want to believe in those things. Some people are so closed off that they go, oh yeah, witches, ha ha ha, that's funny, right? But when you realize that, you know, Hollywood is Hollywood, the holly tree where magic happens, and then you think about film and television and script writing and, you know, creating ideas, making something from your mind into a reality, whether it be a play or a film, to some people that considers that to be magic. Mark McFarlane, you're staying up late tonight. Who knows what one gets up when in REM sleep mode? Oh yeah. You're not REM now yet, are you? No, you're here still. Okay, maybe an altar you're not aware of. Could be. I mean, some people, according to what Max has said, they're not even aware of that other sleeper altar even existing in them. Okay.
Generally, they play on that. No one's going to say anything. They also have all these hand signals. It's imprinted in that if
you talk about.
Yeah,
that's
the symbol for Horus too. Yeah,
colleague of ours
who's used that, absolutely, and that is a way to stop you from speaking, to shut you down and stop you from speaking. Yeah. See, even speaking about it kind of bugs me a little bit.
You were interviewed with Kerry Cassidy.
Yeah. And
Michael Prince.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate interview, really. I was very, very.
Do you want to talk about that? Is that something?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not just going to tell the truth of what my perspective was about it. It was just the setup.
And also, here, go back a little bit, because I thought this was interesting commentary that I'm going to go back a little farther. I want to head into it again. I like to just kind of think of, like, to me, this stood out when he talked about his first interview with Carrie Cassidy, which is the one where it said Max Spiers, Michael Prince. And I believe this was the first interview in Henderson, Nevada. And I didn't realize that he had, I don't know if you should say negativity about it, but it was, well, you'll hear what he says. It wasn't like all peachy though either.
No, it's imprinted in that
you talked about.
Yeah,
This you talk
that's
about
the symbol for Horus too. Yeah,
colleague of ours
who's used that absolutely, and that is a way to stop you from speaking, to shut you down and stop you from speaking. Yeah. So even speaking about it kind of bugs me a little bit.
You were interviewed with Carrie Cassidy.
Yeah.
And Michael Prince.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate interview. Really, I was very, very.
Do you want to talk about that? Is that something?
Yeah, I'm not just going to tell the truth of what my perspective of was it about it. It was just the setup was a little bit unusual. I wasn't expecting it to happen, and I think that Camelot have done a lot of good work. I've watched a lot of the stuff, and it's been, So I mean, with my DNA, I know. So the DNA that I'm carrying.
Edited, right? Like he took part of it out. I want to go back there again.
Bugs me a little bit.
You were interviewed with Carrie Cassidy.
Yeah.
And Michael Prince.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate interview. Really, I was very, very.
Do you want to talk about that? Is that something?
Yeah. I'm not just going to tell the truth of what my perspective of was it about it. It was just the setup was a little bit unusual. I wasn't expecting it to happen, and I think that Camelot have done a lot of good work. I've watched a lot of the stuff, and it's been, So I mean, with my DNA, I know.
What happened in between that and that edit? That's what I'm curious about.
So the DNA that I'm carrying a split 50-50 split DNA. I have Sirius A DNA, and I have Anunnaki DNA. But it's a perfect split. When I was born, I've said this a number of times, when I was born, a line went down the center of my body, and I turned two different colors for about 30 seconds, purple and yellow, and then they took pictures, and then it faded away, and that was a symbolic reference.
That must have been a programmed response, so that it would. So they would know.
I think so, but I think
that looks like a signal.
Well, they took me away from my mother immediately, and she remembers just kind of passing out, and then waking up a few hours later and screaming, where's my baby? And she didn't know where they'd taken me. I think that they have to immediately traumatize the baby to create the fracture that's needed for certain things. So if you traumatize the baby.
Slapping the baby that way of doing
traumatize it, absolutely. And the lights, they're using those halogen lights on a child when it comes. Yeah, you're doing some damage.
And that's why they don't like home births.
Right, they don't want home births or swimming pool births, or which is a more far.
Certainly, Sarah Goodley's done a lot of work on this. Tremendous lady and her team of people. Well, as we're running out of time and light, and the rain is pouring, do you've got any sort of things to say about what's been going on, or
a massive amount of infighting and jealousy and
another edit? Like it's not. Some of it's gone. I want to make mention of his birth again, and if you read that Wikipedia, the way the Wikipedia talks about his death and his life, they almost ridicule him. They don't really explain it the way he does, but they almost ridicule him, like he thought something happened at his birth and this and that. The Wikipedia is really demeaning, I think.
Backlash and fallout from all sorts of stuff, and I really don't want to be a part of any of that, because the reason I got involved in this in the first place was to find out and about what happened to me, and help other people who've gone through trauma.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Kathy Morgan's thing. She wants to find out what's happened to her.
Yeah.
So in many respects, as we're really running out of time.
Perhaps it was for selfish reasons I even got involved in it, Miles, because I wanted to know what's going on with me.
Yeah.
And it's turned into, okay,
but we seem to be allowed to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something else around which is letting us do this.
That's
or they just are predators waiting to pounce.
That's very interesting. I mean, there has to be some aspect of free will, though, in what we're doing. I mean, is it all scripted?
Giving up our powers, we're running out. We're really about to shut down here, but really, well, just in case we do shut down, Max, thanks very much for
Thank you,
Basis
Miles.
37, and in England where it rains,
yes,
and it's pouring with rain now in Wiltshire again, and Sarah, wonderful to see Sarah,
brilliant,
and it's been good fun, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the unwelcome visitors on this in this sector. It's time for them to leave rather quickly.
Okay, this is the new ones or the ones who've been here for a while?
The ones who've been here for a while.
Yeah.
Who are the new ones?
Well, this is what we've been doing. I've been talking about, and it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me that there's kind of a new force that's taking on. But I don't know what it is, Miles. I don't know what it is.
I've got a very strong sense of that as well.
This is something that we know never, that's not been spoken about before.
Yeah, big time new.
Yeah.
Old guys move on.
I mean, the ones that are running it now are ancient, though. You got to know that ancient force. Okay. The Dracos are old. There are ones above. They were created too. Yeah. I mean, they're not even from the Draco. Not even from this star system at all. They were placed here to cause havoc, to be the polarity, to be the dark or the shadow, so that when there has to, it's.
Well, it's a bit like assuming that time is a linear thing that never changes.
Right.
Things change,
Yeah.
Leases run out.
There you go. Yeah.
Leases run out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you have to hand over. When you own something for a while, maybe you only have it for 100 years.
Maybe, as John Irwin has mentioned, the lords are coming back to the manor, and they're not happy with what the butler's been doing.
Right, and so
and here we go. Another John Irwin quote from Miles Johnston.
In trouble for that.
Big trouble.
Been, not taken care of in the correct way.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're rushing now, sort of panicking a little bit.
Yes.
So we'll see how that unfolds.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right. Brilliant.
Good day.
So I think that is kind of really an infamous interview. And again, this is the Tinfoil Man. I'm going to share it in the chat just in case anybody wants it. So just so you got that. Yeah, it's really I don't know. I find it. I'm kind of. It makes you think about certain things. I know, like sometimes I feel like when I show stuff about Max, I've gotten criticism, like some of my haters, they go, oh, you think you're talking about Max Spiers and blah, 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 and that's just ridiculous. And, whatever. And but I actually, when I read, to me, he's saying things that are ancient history in terms of like the occult and stuff. And I also want to show you, Mr. Mythos. Hold on a second. I'm going to look up Mr. Mythos really quick. Who I highly recommend if you want to get like a quick study of Mr. Mythos on demonology. Okay, here it is. Yeah. Mr. Mythos. Let me see. Oh, darn it. I didn't want to go to the playlist. I want to go to his actual stuff. He didn't do it too long ago. Forbidden, Dangerous Job, Inner Earth Conspiracies. Darn it, where is it? The myth. because he does it in an objective way. Let's see. Obsessive demonology. Let's see. Why isn't this pulling up like that? I want it to. Of course it's not doing it. Yeah, here it is. Here. I'm going to add this in the chat, and then I'm going to show you who he is really quick. Maybe it'll be okay. But I highly, if you want to watch something that will kind of buff out like what Max is talking about, this guy
is the study of demons, which are essentially evil spirits that have the ability to influence the physical world, including ourselves, animals, and observable events. Whether or not we actually believe in the existence of these beings, demonology is an occult science, meaning that there are distinct methods of classification and hierarchy, as well as identification of a demon's name and
there's
sigil.
the sigils. I'm going to expand it.
Theories regarding their demonic powers and limitations, and complex rituals of summoning, command, and exorcism. Hundreds, if not thousands of grimoires have been written on this exact subject, a handful of which you'll be learning about today. Demonology is just as important to the devoutly religious as it is to those who seek to control demons for their own nefarious purposes. This is because understanding the nature of demons can help a person protect themselves from their influence. This concept is called spiritual warfare, a battle between good and evil that we are thought to be constantly engaged in. Of course, whether or not you accept this as truth is up to you. Some people just find this stuff interesting, and I'm not surprised why. Demonology is pretty cool. Hey, fellow seekers, welcome. I'm Mr. Mythos. If you're a fan of strange and ancient mysteries with research so deep you're guaranteed to fall down the rabbit hole, you're in the right place. I humbly ask that you give this video a like and ding the notifications bell.
Okay, anyway, that's going to give you a touch of what that's all about. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You like the topics and everything. And it's great to see you here too, because you're giving us, all of us, like your presence and the things that you're saying is giving us another. It's adding to our exploration and looking back at everything and understanding things too. Okay, before I go, I want to just show. I'm going to give you the link to my new blog that I wrote for Hemp Week. The month. No, that's not what I want. I just clicked on I'm on Apple Podcasts. I just went to click on Not My Rabbit Hole. If you look for Not My Rabbit Hole, and then like you'll see like my podcast on a lot of different places if you so are inclined. Good night, Super Soldier Healing. Thank you for being here. Just real quick. This was an essay that I wrote in my English critical thinking class. And no, I didn't want to go there. Hold on. And now my internet's going to cause me issues. Okay, here it is. Cannabis literacy. All right, so read more. And some of the things that I talk about, which I think I want to point out to you, is how knowledgeable are we of the medicinal and industrial applications of cannabis. So I go into different things about that historically. The fact that hemp has been nearly banned worldwide may have even helped perpetuate global warming. This particular essay we had to write about something as what are the solutions to problems, and I know we have legalization and things like this, but there's so much more applications to hemp that I think we could make money here in the United States if we decided to grow hemp, and it could be huge industry, and it would be global friendly. And I also want to point out that right here is free CBD. That's the CBD BioCare that I was telling you. You can click that link there. And, there's an old picture of me, promo picture. But also I talk about the marijuana tax and how, the yellow journalism with William Randolph Hearst and the Rockefeller families and the DuPonts and Standard Oil. And then here, we're not for the Marijuana Tax Act. We would, at the very least, be seeing a line of Ford cars being run on biofuel. The Marijuana Tax Act was passed in 1937. We could have been fueling cars with hemp biofuel for the past 84 years. Unfortunately, today, we are tinkering around with trying to how to figure out integrate electric cars into the populace. And also, there's a fact here about how the electric cars actually, in some instances, have more toxic emissions than your gas does. Also, going into the history of hemp in the United States, that our founding fathers even smoked hemp. Benjamin Franklin started one of the first American paper mills with cannabis. This allowed America to gain the independence of not having to acquire paper and books from Britain. And then the history of that. And then, of course, the medicinal aspect of it. There's one thing also here, real customer's photo. This is also the product that this dog here had skin irritation. And this is a real customer's photo after using the cannabis oil and the hot spray, the CBD hot spray. This is the dog. He's all healed up right there. And look, this guy's a little cannabis outfit. But that's also, if you go to my link here, you can get a 5% discount on the pet spray. And then I write about the different stereotypes. And I guess I'll just go to the end. And again, please do click onto this and read it. I am monetized on my blog, so even just looking at it helps me get paid in some ways too. And RSS my feed, as well. But it says the answer is cannabis literacy. We are currently suffering from a pandemic economy. Many people face potential homelessness. Our planet is sick, and technological billionaires are taking space trips with talking of occupying Mars. Have we given up on planet Earth? Hemp is the solution for starvation, clothing, fuel, natural medicine, and paper. Imagine what the world would be like if we could stop cutting down trees. If we put our farmers to work today growing hemp, America would be a leading force and dominate in the hemp production globally. Hemp is eco-friendly and would help our carbon footprint. Therefore, cannabis education could potentially save our planet and humankind. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. And that was my last line. And so I just want to let you know that I am publishing things on my blog. And that's just a supplement to what's going on here on my channel. And also to let you guys know that, like, I have a plan, like the blog. The reason why I'm going back to college, my major is refined into digital journalism. Although there's humor journalism and all kinds of different things, but I'm creating these platforms, and I want to get educated so I can be better at what I'm doing for you right now, or for doing this media right now. And who knows, once I have a degree, then I could probably do it on for other people, because journalism, everything's going digital. Matter of fact, in my spring semester, I'm going to be taking a video editing class, which I have to have in order to go to get my AA to transfer. So part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to learn how to do videos better too, like legitimately better. So I always knew pot could save the world. It could. That is the thing that happened to me. Like when I talk about my own awakening, like cannabis led me to here to talk about these other things too. But I had like a vision of that the cannabis plant is a very special plant. And since we are having a hard time right now, and there are things happening, we could make our earth better by using this wonderful, wonderful resource. Because I think that the plants are God's creation. And, like in the Bible, it says, I've given you all the fruit and seeds in your garden. And like, I think that the oligarchs and the corporate interests has harmed humanity. And now they want to go, and now that we restricted something else from you, now we're going to like make you be in a little tiny box and have a reset and, enjoy eating your bugs, and I feel like going, F you guys, right? Like, I got angry when I saw the Pope and everybody going, we have a global warming problem. I go, why isn't anybody talking about the hemp plant as a solution? If you really wanted to do something, you would make it so we were going back to, like, if America, our history, our council culture was that our founding fathers, I know you hated them now because, they were also racist, but they were hemp farmers. Like, people they said our country was founded on that. They had something right. I think right now as people, we have to, this is just me, I'm preaching, I'm going to let you guys go because I know you probably don't want to hear this, but nobody's perfect. Nobody, they're great. They're great men that did awful things at the same time that they were great. That is the dichotomy of being human in a way. And maybe the reason why we're going to go extinct. But shouldn't we look at what we've done good once in a while and then repeat that rather than repeating the things that we did bad? Anyway, would love to write a book. So would I. And that is a goal of mine too. And I have a portfolio. Let my hair down because my hair was all, it's still wet. I took it I took a shower and it didn't dry enough for me to flat iron it. But anyway, it was going to kill a lot of things. It was going to kill like DuPont and the plastics and everything else. The Pope is apparently coming to Canada to say sorry 40 years for the Protestants said sorry they threw a bit of cash, yet no healing as our culture lost everything. Okay, so I'm going to say goodnight. And there's another song I picked for tonight. And, I hope that I don't know. Isn't it funny? I wanted play Andrea Bocelli singing the Lord's Prayer because it's so gorgeous. But I'm gonna exit on that tonight because it's beautiful. And and we're almost to be Sunday, and so whatever you feel spiritually, or or not, or whatever, just a good vibe. But I want to thank you for listening to the show tonight, and I'm going to probably do some more stuff on Max, every once in a while, and so and I had a candle going the whole time, so. Thank you, Mark, for joining the show, and thank you guys all for being here. I feel like I'm getting to know you all, Mark, Raven, Tamara, Vanessa, Deborah, Jeff Reed, Yeah, it's been a good night. So take care, you guys. Have a great week. And let's see. Let me bring this up.